Well, happy 2022! Yeah, it was a long break for myself during the holidays, and then upon returning, had to catch up, get things back to normal. But really, who cares about that? Let's talk some Star Citizen. With only a few updates to the roadmap, this video will be speculation on what we may or may not see this year. But as I go on, I also want to know what you think we can expect this year. Or what you would like to see happen this year, and why. What do you feel are your must-haves in 2022? This will have lots of speculation, so for you seasoned Packers out there, just know that come December of 2022, this may have aged like fine milk. Realistically, we should expect to see this as a slow year with maybe one or two big-ticket feature items getting Tier 0 implementations on the live PTU. New straight-to-flyable ships to feed that bank account, possibly a couple of older ships finally getting released so we can reduce that crazy huge backlog, one of which will not be the Apollo, because with medical now in the game, that would make sense to have. Brace yourselves from laughing, but late 2022, I see the beginnings of the initial phase of full persistence and server meshing making its way onto the PTU. These are the keystones of the entire project, and in my opinion, the unicorns that make this project a go or no go. They have been working on it for an extremely long time, and at its lowest levels, it is this year it needs to see some traction to begin to pay off. It is only with that I feel we are going to be able to have personal hangars, because my gut says that these get pushed again and again until we have some of these initial systems in place. Since this I see as a larger out-of-nowhere announcement. Yes, we knew this was eventually going to happen, but really it was recently added to the roadmap, and for that reason I consider it, quote, out of nowhere. Due to this, and it being instanced, which is very much needed, tells me that CIG is finally on board with using instancing in the game, which for an MMO will really open up many possibilities for some good PvE experiences for all players to really engage in the lore long term. That said, I see this aspect getting pushed at least another year. Adding in something instanced in the game seems to really be going under the radar by the community. It's a big deal in my opinion. The Gen 12 renderer. Oh baby, this is yet another big item. But I feel this is more realistic of this year, and I am, like many, very curious to see what type of increased FPS we see across the board. Just how much will we see multi-core really be utilized? Will this allow us to start seeing new height maps and give an even larger scale to the game, adding some really beautiful diversity to planetary surfaces? So my gut says I could see it happen, but it's probably going to be later in the year. And again, that seasoned backer aspect comes in and just says, no, it's gonna get pushed. So for those new in very short, Gen 12 will optimize how the images are rendered on your screen one frame at a time to become more efficient and thus faster and opening up more possibilities later on. To say that's the short version of it is an understatement. I see Gen 12 as released in an initial state, but not until Q4 is my guess. Once it is released, I'm curious to see when ray tracing comes online. It is subtle, but I myself enjoy ray tracing, and I'm curious to see what DLSS or FSR can do for Star Citizen, as there is zero chance Star Citizen does not release ray tracing without it. Could we see Star Citizen actually begin hitting 60 frames per second one day? You can't see it right now, but I have a tear running down my face just thinking about it. So yeah, while eventually ray tracing makes you brace for big frame rate hits, ray tracing also means FSR and DLSS, so disabling ray tracing and leaving on DLSS could be oh so nice. Salvaging. Now for those of you who have been in the verse for a while, you go ahead and stay a realist and let me drink the Kool-Aid for you. I think the first version of Salvage actually comes out in 2022. That said, the Reclaimer will still not be able to salvage, and in the end, I'll be curious to see if the claw actually gets removed in favor of possibly a massive salvage laser of some sort. My guess on this will change based on the vulture and how it works, but I simply do not see the giant claw doing all the custom animation and precisely crushing up geometry. Personally, I will see it work more like mining, but it will be for ships, and keep the attachments reserved only for their particular area of expertise. So no, if it becomes a new attachment, I see it as the Reclaimer and the Vulture will not be able to mine rocks, just like the Orion or the Prospector will be unable to salvage. Hand salvage will show us the system though. In the end, if we simply want to salvage, I see it as we will simply see things just vanish as we, quote, cut away scraps rather than clawing it away. Again, regarding the Reclaimer, this is my own theory. CIG has never hinted at anything remotely close to it. They just said the claw and the animations are going to be damn hard. So I say 318 we get hand salvage, and my stretch prediction is the Vulture will also salvage after it gets released. As for the beloved claw of the Reclaimer, it looks cool, but reasonable expectations come into my mind here. Again, I feel they will go carving with a laser as opposed to crushing and dealing with loads of issues later on, such as proximity to things and whatnot. Again, my own BS theory, as much of this video is. So staying with professions, I say hacking also begins to say hi. But not until late Q4. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and guess that it is brute forced in just before the holiday season in 2022. So then we get the holiday to complain about how broken it is. Would be a first, right? The iteration I see is at tier 0, and only handheld hacking. Neither the Herald or the Sentinel will have any of its hacking capabilities. Desync fixed. Yeah, I'm just kidding with you. It's still going to be there. And yes, the AI will still stand on chairs throughout 2022 and for the foreseeable future. So that's going to go ahead and bring me to updated Outposts. I honestly see this one happening. CIG has not mentioned that this is on the horizon, but in Stanton, I do expect to see many of the landing zones begin to make use of more of these assets they've recently begun to create, so it can give it more of a randomized and alive feeling, rather than just loads of platinum bays all over the place. They would still be devoid of life, more than likely FedEx missions only, but maybe that will give us a location to go ahead and sell some of these items that were out and about. That's right. Selling items in shops is slated to be incoming, and I see it in 2022. But per usual, as it is on the roadmap now, I see it being pushed for a few patches. I just do not see it going in 317. A new system, Pyro. The jump gate will probably and hopefully be a way to instance new systems. We can say it's all connected, but really it's just going to be moving us from one mesh server to another. I see Pyro getting its big announcement at CitizenCon. A jump gate will probably be deployed with all the hopes and dreams that it's actually going to come online, but I see Pyro pushed until 2023. But I do see the jump gate make its appearance for the first time, sitting there, floating, teasing. So Pyro in 2022, my guess, not gonna happen. Servers really need to be controlled first. Again, that network stability. Ships! Sadly, I see new ships coming out because, well, that keeps things going. But the backlog of ships really needs to be addressed. As the more ships they make, they start giving the impression that they are obsoleting some ships that have even been waiting to be built since for forever. And some are so important in lore, such as the Banning Merchantman, it keeps getting updated again and again, messing with all the ship's balance as a whole. If we can see some of these big key ships drop, then they can just simply get past those and possibly make it easier in the future to balance new ships and still maintain the relevancy of some of the older ships. So if one thing is guaranteed, it's this: new ships. My stretch prediction for this category? Brace yourselves. A new capital ship will become flight ready. It's been years since the capital has been introduced. We know that they take years, but a part of me feels we could see a new flyable capital ship be released. As crazy as it sounds, a part of me feels like the Odyssey might be the front runner here. And I also feel that the Banning Merchantman will be well underway. Not released this year, but we're gonna see a lot of updates throughout the year, probably around CitizenCon. Add to that, releasing one will further cement new sales, especially a flyable one. In the end, we really should see a torrent of items begin to come out, though most are tied to networking issues. But slowly, there are signs that many features are being worked on. And at the same time, we need to be cautious. For years, they have delayed and removed things from roadmaps, so while we are hopeful, don't peg all of your hopes on these things. Again, I do see a couple of big features come online, but that's it on top of ship sales. The priority is the network. Getting some stability, reduce the bugs. For the love of God, kill that desync, or at least make it more reasonable, cause good God. Then the Gen 12 renderer. Fixing much of that tech debt will be huge. Yes, the game is in alpha, but it is a live alpha. That slows down production, as the devs really owe the players some quality of life fixes now. Again, that's what we're playing on. But that's the trade-off when you go crowdfunding for this long, rather than the traditional routes. And for retaining equity and zero added debt, that is a hell of a good deal for CIG. So before we wrap things up, I am curious, in addition to your own predictions, what will be your prediction on funding this year. I'll have some fun and say we see a reduction in funding this year, but still high overall. It'll be fun to come back to this video to see just how flagrantly wrong we got things. I'll say 50 million on the low end, and at a high end, 70 million, which is still a lot. And that depends on if we see little progression or real progression to get new backers. And finally, yes, a winner was selected for the Origin 100i game package and paints. So the winner has been contacted and the items gifted. Congratulations to you. Thank you to everyone entering it, as it showed me how things are going to work for future giveaways. And as usual, if you enjoyed the content and would like to see more, please be sure to like and subscribe, as that does help and support and grow the channel. And I would greatly appreciate it. So until next time, you stay badass, and may 2022 be a good year to you all. This is Gipsy Ronin, out.
Attention citizens. Security forces have reason to believe members of Goon Squadron have breached corporate city defense protocols. Be aware.